Very good morning to all. Today we are going to discuss about the basic concept of lasers. Before that, we know very well about what is laser, that is light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. So in laser, the photons are interacted with the atoms in three ways, or absorption of radiation, spontaneous emission, stimulated emission. First we are going to see about absorption of radiation. So absorption of radiation is the process by which electrons in the ground state absorbs energy from photons to jump into the higher energy levels. So the electrons in the ground state need some amount of energy to jump the higher energy level from the external agencies like heat, electric field or light. So let us consider two energy state from the diagram. One is lower energy state and another one is higher energy state. So the electrons in the lower energy state need sufficient energy in order to jump the high energy state. So when the photons or light energy is equal to the energy difference of the two energy levels, E2 minus E1, is the incident on the atom, the ground state electrons gains sufficient energy and jumps from ground state to excited state. Next one is spontaneous emission. The spontaneous emission is the process by which electrons in the excited state return to the ground state by emitting photons. But the lifetime of the electrons in the excited state is very low, as 10 to the power minus 8 seconds. So the electrons in the excited state can stay only for a short period. After the short lifetime of the excited electrons return to the lower energy state by releasing energy in the form of photons. So from this diagram, the photons emitted in the spontaneous emission process do not flow exactly in the same direction of the incident photons. Next one is stimulated emission. The stimulated emission is the process by which incident photon interacts with the excited electrons and forces it to return to the ground state. In the stimulated emission, the light energy is supplied directly to the excited electrons instead of supplying light energy to the ground state electrons. So unlike the spontaneous emission, the stimulated emission is an artificial one. So in stimulated electrons, the electrons in the excited state need not wait for completion of their lifetime. An alternative technique is used to forcefully return the excited electrons to ground state before completion of their lifetime. This technique is known as the stimulated emission. So from this diagram, when the excited photon interacts with the excited electron, it forces the excited electron to return to the ground state. This excited electron releases energy in the form of light while falling to the ground state. So in stimulated emission, two photons are emitted. One is due to incident photon and another one is due to energy releases of excited electrons. So thus here the two photons are emitted. The stimulated emission process is very fast compared to the spontaneous emission process. All the emitted photons in the stimulated emission have the same energy, same frequency and are in phase. Therefore all photons in the stimulated emission travels in the same direction. So the number of photons emitted in the stimulated emission depends on the number of electrons in high energy levels or excited state and the incident light intensity. Thank you.